So hello and welcome to Revize's monthly webinar. This is a series of informative and communication skill enhancing webinars. The topic that we are going to be covering today is disaster recovery. So some general housekeeping before we get started. This should be very brief, but there will be a brief Q&A after the webinar. So any questions that you have, feel free to jot them down. There's going to be a recorded webinar on our site after the presentation, along with our other webinars in case you missed them. And also, like I said previously, we have our monthly Revize webinars, and you can follow us on all social medias to keep up with the dates and times for that. Oops. So a little bit, excuse me. Sorry about that. From current slide. Okay, so a little bit about us before we get started. We've been around for 20 years. We've been around since 1995. So we have a pretty experienced and diverse team of workers here at Revize. We specialize in government web design. So lots of our clients are government agencies. We create beautiful and functional websites. We're based out of Troy, Michigan. However, we serve all across the US. And here are your hosts. Me, marketing specialist Dani Esterline, and Revize CTO Akshaya Ray. So we're very excited to be presenting this webinar today. And here are some of the learning objectives we're going over, just to keep it brief. So we're going to go over when disaster recovery happens, what's at stake for an organization, best practices, what makes disaster recovery well planned, how your organization is impacted by disaster recovery, and then we're also going to have our contact information followed by the brief Q&A. Below, if you see this little Tweety bird, that's just going to use the hashtag Revize webinar to tweet your thoughts throughout the duration of the webinar. If you have any thoughts you'd like to swing by us, that would be a great way. So now we're going to go over a little bit of when disaster recovery happens. So no organization wants to hear the word disaster when talking about their internal or external resources, right? But disaster recovery helps organizations anticipate and solve the issues. Disasters can be caused by many different resources and reasons. They can be caused by hacker attacks. They can be caused by human errors. So just a mixture of things, obviously unexpected. Recovery is just the part where we're making sure an organization returns to normalcy in a timely manner after the disaster. So what's at stake? I'm sure that's probably what brought you here today. However, for government agencies, valuable information and data may be lost within the disaster. There's also an economic impact. So whenever an organization has downtime, that means they're losing money and they're losing resources. In government agencies' case, that means residents without access to pay bills like citations, bails, etc., and unhappy residents. As a marketing specialist, I can say that word of mouth marketing is a very powerful tool. And for government agencies, it's not a good thing for residents to be unhappy. And now I'm going to pass it off to Akshaya, and he's going to explain a little bit about the functionality of our disaster recovery process or best practices.
Thank you, Dani. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Akshaya Ray. I am the CTO of Revize Software Systems. I have a master's degree in engineering science from Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge, majoring in computer science. I graduated in the year 1995, and since 2006, I have been working as the Chief Technology Officer here at Revize, and I lead the technology team and infrastructure here at Revize Software Systems. It's an honor today to to share my experience and knowledge with you all in regards to a robust disaster recovery architecture. So as Dani said, disaster can happen anytime and for many number of reasons. There could be security attacks, there could be like ransomware, malware, There could be a natural calamity like fire hazard, snowstorm, ice storm, things like that. And there could be terrorist incidents, blowing away a physical building, things like that. Anything can happen anytime. Therefore, it's extremely important for every organization to have a proper disaster recovery in place. That's, if something wrong goes, bad happens, you can quickly recover your systems and get up and running. So these are the based on the modern technology. These are the different components for a better disaster recovery to be deployed. So one thing is you want to do is you should use global IP. So what global IP does is it is basically behind the scene. There is a load balancer which is attached to the global IP that kinds of directs the traffic between different network systems. In other words, the IP goes to one network in one physical building. So in case something happens to that network, then the traffic will automatically get redirected to the different network, to the backup network, or in another geographic region. That's why that's the way you will have your systems up and running all the time. Then you want to use cloud hosting. Cloud hosting is a new architecture, new technology. Nowadays, almost all the big Fortune 500 companies are deploying it, and all the big government enterprises also. What it does, cloud provides you the scalability and the redundancy. You can have multiple servers running in different data centers, and simultaneously, they are all connected, virtually. So you can basically have one instance running in one geographical region and another instance in another region, and they're all connected. And if something happens to one region, the other one is up and running. So if you're using the cloud hosting, it provides the virtualization technology. And using the virtualization, you can create the snapshot, which is nothing but a mirror image of your server, whatever server number of servers you have. It creates a mirror image of those servers and stores it as snapshot. So that provides you the technology. If you have a snapshot, you can get, if something happens to your primary server, you can have a backup and a DR server up and running in a matter of minutes. And also you want to make sure that you are copying the snapshot across different geographic regions. That way, if one region is affected, the snapshot is available in the other region for the data to be restored back. So, Dani, can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so now this is a pictorial view of the disaster recovery architecture that we have deployed here at Revize. This is based on the industry's best and the latest technology. And I'll briefly explain. And many of the big companies, corporations do have the same architecture. So as you can see that there are two regions here. One is US East 1 and US East 2. They're completely geographically separated, isolated regions. And each region we have two servers. One is the primary server, the other one is the DR server. So the data between the primary and DR server is synced every night using the snapshot technology. So the way the system works is, if your end user, like a visitor or residents, they browse to your website or web applications, they actually hit a DNS server, which is a domain server, and the domain points to a global IP. And the global IP is behind the scene, there is a net load balancer that checks which server is up and running. And it initially checks if the primary server is up, then it directs the traffic to the primary server and gets all the content back and fetches and displays in the browser. And if for some reason the primary server is down, the server can be down, or the whole data center can be down, or the building could be, network infrastructure can be down. So in that case, the IP will automatically redirect the traffic to the DR web server, which is the backup of the primary server. And that is also in a different physically different location in a different data center. So in case something wrong happens and that whole region is affected, like entire region is, let's say there is a big snowstorm or something happens, weather, natural disaster, the entire region is affected. Then we have another completely different region where we have the same architecture and the data, the snapshot data is copied from one region to the another region every night, using the cloud deployment architecture. And the data is there and the other server instance is running all, and the global IP is automatically going to redirect the traffic from the region 1 to region 2. So as you can see, this is a completely 100% bulletproof architecture for disaster recovery. Your mind can be at ease all the time. Your site will never go down. Your applications will be up and running. I mean, there could be 5 to 10 minutes lag when one region is down for the traffic to be automatically redirected. So that, that's the maximum downtime you'll experience, but it's all automated. You will have nothing to worry basically. So now let's talk about what makes a disaster recovery process well planned. Obviously, you need a very short recovery time. You don't want anything that a disaster recovery system in place that can take hours or days. And ideally, you would need to have zero. You would expect to have zero data loss or very minimal data loss. You don't want to lose any data when you recover the system. And also when the data is recovered, you want to have maintain the consistency of the data. There should be no corruption, the data should be usable. And also you need to have a proper command chain in place to handle the disaster recovery efficiently in case the automated system fails. You need to have tech support team available, whether you are doing your in-house hosting or outside hosting in a different, with a different provider. You need to make sure that they have a team in place to jump in and get systems up and running quickly. With that, now let me pass it back to Dani. Dani, back to you.
Thanks, Ray. So now that Ray explained a little bit about the infrastructure of a disaster recovery process that's well planned and the best practices that our clients are using, we're going to now dive into understanding it within your organization. So like he mentioned previously with how there's different disasters that can occur naturally or human error caused, there's a risk assessment. So this is something that an organization can do to help protect itself from the likelihood of a disaster recovery and forego any losses. So right now, as you're witnessing this webinar, some questions to ask yourself would be, do we have security gaps that we've faced in the past as an organization? Do we live in an area that's geographically more prone to a natural disaster? So these are all sorts of risk assessment questions that an organization can ask itself to help plan better for their disaster recovery process. Also, creating a well-documented process. So nothing is set in stone until it's written down, right? So planning all the steps is a great way to ensure quick recovery, regardless of self-hosting, or if you're using a third-party web vendor. If you have a written down plan, that's just a way to ensure that it's going smoothly and running efficiently. And just like anything else, practice makes perfect. So having a dry run a few times a year to test out the disaster recovery process is another way to ensure that there's no hiccups and that the business is not foregoing any loss of revenue, loss of time being down. And thanks for attending our monthly webinar. So here's some contact information. So our address is as follows. Like I said, we are based out of Troy. Our phone number is below. And if you have any questions about Revize products or requesting a demo with us, you can email us at contact@revize.com and we'll get back with you in a timely manner. Also, as I said previously, we're on all of the social medias. This is a great way to pick up on our latest webinars, on the coming times and dates, and new product features, things like that. And now we're going to go into a brief Q&A. Thanks for your patience. So I think I saw one actually. Okay, Don Jarman asked, will slides be available for our team? Yes. So like I said, this presentation will be up uploaded to our Revize site after. Right now, we're doing the recorded version, but we're going to look into uploading the PowerPoint at some point. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you so much for attending our webinar today. Again, our contact is as follows. So if you want to come back or have any questions that come to mind later in the day, feel free to email us. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.